Is Etsy too saturated? This is something that I hear a lot and a topic I want to discuss today. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, what is going on? Welcome back to the Handmade and Beyond podcast. I am your host, LL. Glad you guys are hanging out with me, talking about all things Etsy, e-commerce, handmade, to help you and your business grow and improve. That's what I want to do with these episodes. All right, so saturation. This term is used a lot when talking about online business, and that's no different when you're specifically talking about Etsy as well. I want to discuss saturation a little bit more and give you some a little bit more perspective and some tips when it comes to how to overcome this when it comes to the Etsy marketplace specifically. But first, I have a new guide for you. I want to always give you guys free stuff to help your business grow and improve. This is no different. I have a guide that shows you 10 ways to accelerate your Etsy growth with the Accelerator Guide. You guys can get that at handmadeandbeyond.com/accelerate. Get it, download it, and most importantly, take action on what I teach you in there. All right, saturation. Again, this is a common term. We hear it a lot. We hear it, all over the place. This is too saturated. That's too saturated. Yada yada yada. But usually, it's used as an excuse. Use it as an excuse on why you shouldn't do something, why you shouldn't start something, or why you should give up or not do something. And if you've been listening to me for a while, or you just started listening to me, you know that I'm not a big fan of excuses or quitting or just negative outlooks, because it's not going to do us any good whatsoever. That is the reason why I want to give you some perspective when it comes to saturation. And if you think Etsy is saturated or other things are saturated and you're not going to partake because of that. So there's many markets out there that are considered saturated that still thrive, that still do millions and billions of dollars in sales. Have you ever seen, or driven around, you've seen a McDonald's? Right beside the McDonald's is a Burger King, a Taco Bell, a Wendy's, an Arby's, a Chick-fil-A. Why in the heck are they side by side? What are they doing? Or go to a Home Depot and there's a Lowe's right across the street. What in the heck are they doing? They're direct competitors. Why are they right across the street from one another? Well, not to get too technical, but this example is directly related to an economic game theory, basically meaning that these companies are spending tons and tons of money researching the best market areas, the best locations, the best spots to put their businesses. So if they are the only ones in this area, they're going to get 100% of that market share. Whereas other companies are doing the same research and they're not going to let them get 100% of the market share. They're going to put a business there and then they're going to get 50% of the market share. So it's a gaming theory based on stats, based on the data that they're finding on where to put the best locations, the best spots, the best economic areas, the best high traffic areas, so to speak. So they're still going to do well because that is the prime location. They're just not going to do as well because there's going to be competition, but there's still plenty of, obviously, money that goes around, because more than, some people will go to McDonald's and then their friend wants to go to Burger King, or vice versa, or next time they'll hit up Burger King and not McDonald's. So they're still getting the traffic regardless. They're still going to get those sales regardless. When it comes to, another good example is when it comes to breweries. There's usually several breweries really close by. The old town I used to live in, there was like 10 or 15 breweries. A lot of them you could walk to. But unlike fast food, I think when it comes to breweries, the demographic of people like to go to more than one. They like to bounce around. They like to try different beers, like to try different things. So it's a little bit of a difference there. I mean, economic gaming theory still plays into it. They're still going to be at prime locations, but you're not going to go to Taco Bell, Burger King, McDonald's in the same day unless you want to be on the toilet the next day, not to get crude. So when it comes to breweries, it's kind of a different mindset, different demographic, but they all play off each other and they all thrive together. So it's an abundance type of thing. When it comes to Etsy, there's a lot of people in the same niches. There's a lot of the same type of products. There's a lot of the same subject matter. Usually more saturated the market is when it comes to Etsy, the bigger the market share is. You just have to find a piece of that market share. So like the fast food restaurants, your piece of real estate is Etsy. Etsy is getting 96 million buyers. They had in 2022, they had 96 active buyers, million active buyers. That's a ton. That's a huge amount of buyers. So Etsy is a prime place to sell your stuff. You just have to find a way to break into the market share. Also in 2022, they reported 7.5 million sellers. So it's not like there's 96 million sellers. There's still a vast difference, vastly more buyers than there are sellers. So that means there is some room for you to break into the marketplace and break into what you think is a saturated market. So where saturation is bad, I think what really gives people a poor taste in their mouth when it comes to Etsy is you see a lot of people with poor quality shops, products, just the sellers aren't good. They're just kind of throwing stuff out there. And this does make it harder for the good shops and people doing the right things to kind of break through, because there's a saturation of just not so good stuff. People doing trademark infringement, mass-produced stuff, all kinds of shenanigans going on there. I mean, Etsy is trying to make it better, and it's always a struggle. You see the same stuff with other platforms. eBay, all the other platforms out there have problems with this type of stuff. So you see a lot of that going on, a lot of the minutia, a lot of the crap sellers on there. So it's like, oh man, the marketplace is so saturated with this stuff. It's kind of, you become disenfranchised, disheartened, and negative about it, and you start to use it as an excuse. But you should not, because it doesn't mean that you can't break through. It doesn't mean that good quality shops and good quality sellers can't break through and find their piece of that market share. And here's a couple of things to kind of keep in mind as you're working through this and you kind of feel those negative thoughts come on. The first thing is those shops that are doing things like that, they're never going to last. There's fly-by-night shops that are selling mass-produced stuff, trademark infringement stuff, or just garbage stuff that you can just tell isn't quality stuff. They're not going to last. They may get a couple of sales, but they're either going to get shut down, or they're going to stop, or just quit end their shop, or discontinue their shop, whatever the case is, may be doing it. Reason being is they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're just trying to make a quick buck. They're a fly-by-night shop. They want to, think that it may be easy to throw stuff up there and get some quick sales. They are never going to last because they're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're doing it just to make a quick buck or just to make money, you're not going to last. You don't have the right why. I've talked about this a lot. You have to have the right why. You have to have more skin in the game than just, I want to make money. Of course, we all want to make money. We all need to make money. It is an important thing. But if you don't even like what you're doing, you're just doing it to make money, you get no joy out of it, you have no passion behind it, you can't see a future in doing it, you can't see yourself doing it in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then you're not going to last. It's not for you. You're not going to stick through when things get tough. It's just not the right thing for you to do. And that's what a lot of these shops you see will come and go, because they're not doing it for the right reasons, and they're not going to last. If you last, you're going to continue to build off of your shop, improve, and get a piece of that market share. The next thing is, just because you're selling online doesn't mean that it's easy or fast. I don't know why people think that opening a shop online is going to be so much faster and easier than, say, a brick and mortar. There is facets of it that are going to be easier, but you have to kind of approach it the same way. It's still going to be difficult. It's still going to take time. While a brick and mortar is usually significantly more expensive just because of the overhead costs, there are still costs and time commitments involved with opening an online shop. And if you're not approaching it that way, if you think that you don't have to spend time and energy and some money doing it, again, you're not going to last. It's not going to be for you because you don't have the right perspective going into it. I think a lot of people just think that it's going to be, I'm going to throw a couple things up and I'm going to get a lot of sales. It's going to be great. It's going to be easy. It's never like that usually. 99.9% of the time, it takes a lot more of a commitment than that. It takes a learning curve. You have to put on those training wheels. Eventually, you'll get better. Take off the training wheels. You'll start getting some real sales and some real results. But that could take years, and a lot of people aren't willing to commit to that. So that's something that you have to keep in mind that a lot of these shops do that are saturating the market, and another reason why they're not going to last, where you can outlast them if you have those right perspective and expectations. The other thing to keep in mind is find ways to add value to separate yourself from the rest. You can break through into that market share. You can usually tell the sellers that aren't spending a lot of time researching their niche, bringing things to market that they really truly care about, putting a lot of quality into what they're selling, offering quality products, not just the cheapest that you can find, cheapest materials that you can find. If you're kind of approaching it that way and trying to add value, add your own little spin, taking the appropriate steps, that's going to start to set you apart from the rest, and you can start to eat up some of that market share long term. The next thing, and I've talked about this earlier, was have an abundance mentality, not a scarcity mentality. Saturation can easily become an excuse and a barrier for people to quit. This is too saturated. This is why I'm not getting sales. I'm going to quit. Well, really, there's probably a lot that you're not doing or not doing correctly yet that you haven't learned yet, and that's the reason why you're not getting sales yet. It's not necessarily about it being too saturated. Again, in a saturated market, if you're choosing the right market that has a lot of potential buyers and a lot of buyers, you've done that research, and again, most saturated markets do have a ton of buyers. That's why people are in it. You can find ways to separate yourself from the rest, and you can eat some of that market share. You can get some of that market share, and you can get some decent sales. It's no niche. I don't believe any niche is too saturated for anyone to break into in their own way. Again, it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take learning, adjustments. But I believe any saturated niche, as long as it has a decent number of buyers, you can break into in your own way. Also, keep in mind, kind of along the same lines, is there's many ways to niche down or find a sub niche within your market, your target audience, to help you break into that market and get a piece of that market share. A lot of people, I think a lot of the reason a lot of people don't get the sales that they want is because they're not niched down far enough, or they're not finding a sub niche within their market that they can kind of build on and capitalize on, and it's a little bit different than some of the other sellers are offering. So that's going to take time to learn as you continue to kind of do more research and grow and try and test different things. But I think that's a really good way to be able to start to capture some of that market shares by niching down a little bit further. And you see, I think a lot of the shops that have problems, and a lot of the fly-by-night shops, not if you're doing this and you're not a fly-by-night shop, I don't mean to offend you, but a lot of shops just try to sell everything. They don't have a niche, they don't have a market. They sell like all kinds of different stuff. It's going to be really hard to get sales that way because you're trying to market to everybody, and if you try to market to everyone, you market to nobody because the algorithm doesn't know what the heck you're selling. They don't know what you specialize in. They don't know what traffic to send you because you're selling all kinds of different stuff that kind of makes no sense. All kinds of different products, all kinds of different subject matters. You're best to start with a niche or a sub-niche, niche down, and offer only those things, and then kind of build off that, and you can start to capitalize some of that market share. The next thing is, the last thing I'm going to leave you with when it comes to this topic is it's usually not going to come easily, and you're going to have to work for it most of the time. You're going to have to pivot, change multiple times before it clicks. A lot of shops, I think, when they start out, I know this was the case for my shop, my original products were the same, but my subject matter drastically changed what I originally was doing was not working. So I started doing some other type subject matter that started to work. But my first set of ideas did not work. And this is the same for most businesses out there. You see a lot of very successful people that started businesses that didn't do well or failed. So they pivoted to another business or another idea. The same is true with Etsy. If what you're doing first isn't working, maybe you have to pivot a little bit. Maybe you have to pivot to a different niche, a different product, it's something different to get it to work. Some people, they hit a home run the first time, but that is more rare than you think. So chances are what you're doing, at least your first set of ideas, probably aren't going to work. That's why you got to keep trying and throwing things up there based on research, not just throwing whatever up there that you want to throw up there. You can do product and keyword research using platforms, out there such as Alora and other platforms out there to have at least data-driven decisions. But plan on that. Plan on what you do first, not selling, not working, but continue down the path of trying to get things to click, trying to get things to work, and you will find the success that you're looking for. But it's not going to be easy. It's going to take time. Just know that going in, and I think it's going to make things a little bit less painless and a little bit more tolerable for you to have those right expectations. But that's it for this episode, guys. Those are my thoughts on saturation and why you should get over it and not use it as an excuse. Things may be competitive, but that doesn't mean that you can't break into that market share as well. Don't forget to download that Etsy sales accelerator guide at handmadeandbeyond.com/accelerate to get more growth tips on how to improve and grow your shop. I'll be back soon with another great episode for you guys. Have an amazing rest of your day.